or we are showing the like we can learn some question or concept which is asked in the Azure AZ-204 exam. So that will be like similar type of question, I can say not exactly but similar type of question which we can expect, which is coming in this exam. So that similar type of question we can expect on, so that's why I am covering here some of the concept or some of the question related to Azure 204 exam paper pattern. Okay, so first let's start. We have a question like you are developing a web application for your customer. Your customer wanted to decouple the application component using async communication. As per the business play highlight analysis, the order of message is important as it represents the flow of data. Yeah, which Azure service do you include in your development? As mentioned, like there is a message communication over there, and the order is also important. So ordering and message both are we are achieving with the help of service bus. So that's why we are selecting here service bus option. And we have documentation for this one also, like from the Microsoft. So I can attach this link in the comment section. You can go this in the detail. Next question we have, you are developing a solution using Azure Service Bus. You need to create a resource group, Service Bus namespace and Service Bus queue using Azure CLI command. So which three command I have to use? So they are mentioned like we have to use Azure Service Bus group create. We selected Azure group create, so AZ group create, Azure Service Bus queue create, and namespace mentioned, so Azure Service Bus namespace create. Next, we have you are developing an e-commerce application for your customer. The application will contain several Azure cloud services and will handle the different component of transaction. Different cloud services will process customer order, billing, payment, inventory, and shipping. There's lots of PDF or data I can say they are managing. So you need to include Azure services to async communicate transaction information by using the REST messages. So what would you include in your application? We have for that purpose Azure Queue Storage. As Azure Queue Storage basically refer for this media content type, invoice information, images, data we are storing here. Next we question have you have an Azure storage account named my storage account which contains several files of 1 GB name and 1 2 3 and till n. The files are set to use the archive access tier. Okay, you need to ensure file 1 is accessible immediately when a retrieval request is initiated. So for file 1 you set access tier to hot. Does this meet the goal? Yes, because as we know like we have a 3 tier hot, cool and archive one, and hot is expensive compared to cool one, cool is compared to expensive to archive one. So hot, cool I can say similar, they are frequently receiving or sending the data, but little bit they are varying as per the costing over there, and archive is less costly compared to hot and cool tier. So as they are mentioned like they need immediately access when the travel request is initiated, so that purpose hot is best suited, and they are giving the solution for this. You are setting this access tier to hot, so yeah, this is meeting the solution requirement. That's why we are selecting the yes option here. Next question we have developing an Azure service application that processes secure data when it receives a message from the mobile application. So message may not be sent to the service constantly. So we have this requirement like the size must not grow than the 80 gigabytes. You have first in first out ordering messages. Minimize the Azure cost. Okay, you need to implement the messaging solution, and solution we are giving like just use the NAT API to add messages to the Azure Service Bus queue from the mobile application. Okay, create an Azure function app that uses the Azure Service Bus queue trigger. Azure Service Bus queue trigger we are using for the sending the messages consistently, and this services or solution does meet the goal what they are asking. Like this size should be 80 GB and before ordering message. Yes, so because we are using this Azure Service Bus as used for the messaging purpose and queue trigger like immediately, and I can say constantly they are responding the data, so that's why this is meeting the goal. Yes, that's why selecting the yes option. Next we have you are developing a stateless entire architecture application. Your application create a huge number of temporary file in the services operating system storage, and expected the latency should be minimal. You are creating an Azure VM via Azure portal to deploy your application, which disk type should you select as an operating system disk? Okay, we have disk like managed disk, unmanaged, and premium disk, and informal disk. So the requirement like which disk type you should select on this OS disk. So for that purpose we have an informal disk, and if you don't know what is the informal disk, I will given the definition like infernal OS disks are created in the local virtual machine storage and not saved to the remote Azure storage. Informal OS disks work well for the stateless workload where applications are tolerant of individual virtual machine failure but are more affected by the VM deployment time or reimagining the individual VM instances. With the informal OS disk, you get lower read and write latency to the OS disk and faster VM re-image. So that is the reason we are selecting the infrared disk. Next question we have creating Azure VM to deploy an application. Name application 1. Okay, you need to enable remote RDP to access the Azure VM. Which port should you configure to allow remote desktop access? For that reason, we have this 3389 standard port which is used for configure the remote desktop access for connecting the app on over there. Next question we have subscription. Name my subscription that is used by the server department in your company. Okay, so my subscription contains the resource in the following table like name, storage, region, resource group, container. So another admin deploy a virtual machine name VM1 and Azure storage account name storage2 by using the single Azure resource manager template. You need to view the template used for the deployment. Okay, from which blade you can use the template that was used for this deployment. Okay, for that we have ARM1, so I can see the ARM with the help of resource group. So that's why I am selecting this RG1 option. Next question we have a server name server1 that run Windows Server 2019 server is containing a host. Okay, I created the Docker file to build a container image. Okay, you need to add file name file1.txt from server1 to folder name C folder in the container image. So I have this solution like you add the following line into Docker file x copy file1.txt C folder 1. So you then build the container images. Does this meet the goal? Yes, because in the folder we have to copy this thing. So I like already given this command, this file1.txt copy to this folder location, C folder 1 location. So that is meeting the requirement and solution. So that's why I selected the yes. Next question we have Azure Container Registry name registry 1. Your team is planning to push images from CI/CD pipeline, Azure DevOps we have, or any other if you are using. So on that we are like images from CI/CD pipeline and pulled into the Azure services. Which authentication method should you recommend to your team? So on that note, I select the AD service principal Azure Active Directory and manage identity for the Azure resource. For full information authentication purpose, or you already attached the link here, so that will be giving a more broad range or broad idea about that. Next we have error deployment application name application 1 in Azure App Services. You need to capture error and critical log. Which log category level should you select? As the question mentioned, they are capturing the error over there. That's why we have multiple option: warning, error, information, verbose. So I am selecting the error option, not in the like warning one or information one. So that error will be right answer. Next question we have develop and deploy an Azure App Services app 1 to Windows host deployment slot name development. You create additional deployment slot name testing and production. Okay, you enable auto swap to production deployment slot. You need to ensure the script run and resources are available before a swap operation occur. Okay, so for that purpose solution is given like enable auto swap for the testing slot, deploy the app to testing slot. Does this solution meet the goal? No, because auto swap is not possible for this scenario, and that is again they are telling us deploy the app to testing slot. Then we have to check this is meeting the requirement. No. Next question we have Azure App Service API app to Windows hosted deployment slot name development. You create additional deployment slot name testing and production. You enable auto swap on the production deployment slot. Same question, you need to ensure that the script run and resource are available before a swap operation occur. Okay, so before swap operation we have to ensure that the script run and resource are available. Solution क्या है? Disable auto swap. Okay, update the app with method name status check to run the script. Okay, re-enable the auto swap and deploy the app to the production slot. No, that is not meeting the requirement. They are not telling like you have to re-enable and all. Like enable thing we don't mention in the question, we don't have, so that's why I don't think this is the requirement which is meeting our solution. So as question asking, does the solution meet the goal? No. Instead of update the web config file, include the application initialization configuration element, specify custom initialization action to run the script. That will be a better solution. Next, same question, but the solution is they are giving the same. Update the web config. What I mentioned in the answer, that answer I can say they are giving the solution. Update the web config file to include application initialization configuration element. Specify custom initialization action to run the script. Does this solution meet the goal? Yes. Next question we have, deploy and develop Azure App Service API to Windows-based host deployment slot name development. You create additional deployment slot name testing and production. You enable auto swap on the production deployment slot. You need to ensure script runner resources are available before a swap occurs. Then we have solution like update the app with the method name status check to run the script. Update the app setting for the app. Set the website swap warm-up ping path and website swap ping state uses with a path to the new method and appropriate response code. Does the solution meet the goal? Yes, because this website swap warm-up ping path and this swap warm-up ping state uses is give the solution which we are expecting to swapping and script run before the production will be occurs. Next question we have, deploy a web app to app service named My App Services. Your security admin has advised to prevent all connection from the IP address of 11.0.0.11. So you need to modify My App Service to successfully prevent the connection from this IP address. So the design must minimize Azure related cost. And what should you do from the Azure portal? With this requirement we have to like first restriction I can say, and second we have to check this cost is also related to become, so that will be I can consider from the Azure portal. We have to use the configure IP restriction because they already mentioned we have to prevent all connection from this 11.00.11 IP address, so that's why I selected the configure IP restriction option. You are developing Azure Web App. You configure TLS mutual authentication for the web app. You need to validate the client certificate in the web app. Where should you locate the client certificate? Obviously, we are using the HTTP request header to storing this information. Next question we have, you are developing Azure Web App. You configure TLS mutual authentication for the web app. You need to validate the client certificate in the web app. The value of client certificate will be in what encoding type? So that will be base 64, as we already know, like security purpose. We don't have like HTML thing to use the encoding or plain text encoding. We have base 64 which will be I can say useful for the client certification purpose or encoding type purpose. Client certification with encoding type purpose. So base 64 is one of the good option for selecting this thing. So till now I covered the 18 question, and I have some more question which will be I cover in upcoming video.